Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Friday, May 23rd, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Guess what, folks? Harvard got a temporary win. A federal judge has blocked the edict of the Trump administration from revoking the university's ability to enroll international students. Senator Bernie Sanders isn't holding back. On the Flagrant podcast, he called out the Democratic Party in a big way. He also, again, whined about identity politics, and I told y'all if he keeps doing that, I got some words for him. Also, this week, the rapper, better known as Kid Cudi, testified about his relationship with Cassie. Legal analyst Candace Kelley will give us a breakdown, the latest in the Sean Diddy Combs trial in Holly Springs, Mississippi. Folks are standing their ground. A viral video captures what happened when a white man brought racist energy to the wrong bar. They stripped his ass butt naked and beat the hell out of him. Also, we know Donald Trump is dumb. We also know he is a grifter. Last night, he had a private dinner for investors in his coin, and they openly admit, yeah, we're trying to sit here and curry favor with him. Also, the White House lied by calling this his personal time, so why was the presidential seal on the podium when he spoke? Also, we know that boy ain't smart. So when he tried to criticize Harvard and remedial students, he couldn't even talk right. Y'all, there's a lot we're gonna break down. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Well, federal judges continue to kick Donald Trump's administration in their butts when it comes to the law, and they keep kicking their butts in court. A federal judge ruled that the administration, they stopped them from trying to bar Harvard from enrolling international students. More than 6,000 students go to Harvard. They come from all across the country. In her ruling, District Judge Allison Burroughs put a temporary restraining order in place, stopping the government's directive just days before graduation, bringing some relief to students and faculty caught in the chaos. See, these idiots actually said that if they did not comply with a list of demands in 72 hours, then not only could they not enroll any international students, they also couldn't even, they will force those students there now to transfer. Yeah, that's how stupid these people literally are. They're dumb. They're really, really dumb. And not only that, Trump, in one of his usual nonsensical musings in the Oval Office, he was asked about this, and if y'all want to see how just incompetent this man is, listen to him complain about the students. But then he don't even know how to talk. So he's complaining about Harvard international students needing remedial math, but hell, I think he needs some remedial speech communications. Check this here out, y'all.
Why do you not want the best and brightest from around the world to come, to Harvard?
I do, but a lot of the people need remedial math. Did you see that? Where the students can't add 2 and 2 and they go to Harvard. They want remedial math, and they're going to teach remedial math at Harvard. No, wait a minute. So why would they get in? How can somebody that can't...
Well, we know for a fact this fool can't even read. I mean, he loves to rip everybody else, but he's that dumb he can't even read. And so he ain't the brightest bulb in a dark room. And so he loves to call other people low IQ and things along those lines, but no, you're the idiot. You're the one. You can't read. He sits here and lies, makes stuff up, says all sorts of crazy things that, how are you going to question somebody else's educational skills? Matt Manning, civil rights attorney out of Corpus Christi, joins us. Raven Schwam Curtis, content creator and speaker out of Chicago. Raven's first time on the show, so she gets hazed. Dr. Mustafa Santiago Ali, former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA out of D.C. as well. Glad to have all three of y'all here. Matt, listen, for lawyers, it's got to be a whole lot to constantly look at these idiots. And they keep getting their ass whooped. I mean, Trump judges, Obama, Biden judges. I mean, thank goodness that even when you have conservative appointed judges, they still understand there's a thing called the law.
Yeah, and you can actually move for sanctions if somebody has brought a case that is, baseless or groundless or that they know is frivolous. And that's what we're really seeing DOJ and Mr. Trump doing is, they're using the courts, obviously, to try to further their ideological goals. But a lot of these are baseless cases the same way they were when there were the, election denial cases regarding all of this alleged election fraud that, if I remember correctly, was never proven in a court of law.
Never.
And it was routinely just decried by the courts as not having any value. So none of this is new. And, it's interesting that you talk about how unintelligent he is because Donald Trump went to Wharton, right? Now, why did he get into Wharton? Likely because he had money and they were able to buy their way into Wharton.
His daddy cut a check. That's how he got in.
Precisely, right? But for most people out there know this, but Wharton is like one of the top business schools perennially in the country. So it's nothing to shrug at. And to go to a school like that and then to routinely be saying some of the things that he's saying and displaying some of the lack of intelligence that he's displaying, is a problematic thing. And it's interesting because it's this juxtaposition between like the elites are bad, these bad people are at the top of the heap are the people we need to get rid of. We need to, quote, drain the swamp. But he's in that same rarefied air as the kind of people who go to Wharton and Harvard and, the kinds of people who are able to exist in certain echelons. So I say all of that to say that there's a cognitive dissonance there, as we see with everything coming out of the Trump administration, the way that they're playing their base and trying to put on this show as though, they don't like Harvard or any of these other elite places, despite being products of them. But, I don't know how he got into Wharton, but I would like to know how big that check was.
Well, check this out, Raven. Pete Davidson was on Saturday Night Live, and he talked about in the radio interview how the idiot really can't read.
Donald Trump. You were telling me.
I have one story I'm allowed to tell, and it's hilarious.
You have stories you're not allowed to tell?
What happened with the Trump story? Okay, so he's like, he doesn't really know how to read.
For real.
Yeah, and he loves to improv.
Yeah.
So during like the table read, he before we were gonna read before he had to read each line, and he's the host, so he's at everything.
Yeah.
He would go, I'm not going to say this. I think I'm going to say it the way I want to say it. Is that okay? Is that okay, Lauren? Is it everything? And everybody's like, what?
Mm.
And then this is my favorite part is there was a sketch that we wrote where he's at Disneyland with his daughter, and the line is, all right, let's get out of here. Turkey legs? Let's go get turkey legs? And he doesn't know how to read. So he went, all right, let's get out of here, turkey legs. He called his daughter turkey legs.
Maybe that was his improv.
Oh, no, it wasn't. And then he looked up, he doesn't get it. He thinks if everybody's laughing with him, but we're all laughing at him. And it was crazy he would be like, I did a good job, right? Mm. And we're like, yeah.
Did he need reassurance, a lot of reassurance, or was he pretty confident?
He constantly kept saying how amazing the ratings were going to be.
And they were.
He's like, this is going to be number one.
It's what he is. So him calling somebody else incompetent, low IQ, needing remedial math. Yeah, how about you, dude? Mr. Six-time bankruptcy man?
100%. I think what we see in Donald Trump, to build on your point, is really just someone who is emblematic of the rise of anti-intellectualism in this country, right? To me, the right is emblematic of that. I don't know when it stopped being cool to be smart and nerdy and intellectual and thoughtful and capacious in your thinking. But apparently that's where we're at as a country, and that's a really sad day. And I think we see, that position and that politics really manifesting in his isolationist position that he's taking up, particularly as it pertains to international students. You have to be deeply, deeply ahistorical as an individual to believe that international students and workers and folks who immigrate to this country don't add tremendous value to this nation, right? Aren't building these institutions, this nation, our research, our infrastructure, brick by brick, side by side with us. That is a fundamentally anti-intellectual position to take up. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's rich that he's out here calling, you know, Congressman Al Green low IQ and can barely bring a sentence together himself. And also, you know, that he's brazenly weaponizing anti-Semitism to enact this anti-intellectual politics, because that's what we're seeing play out on these college campuses. This taking up, supposedly, of we're combating anti-Semitism to attack higher education, to take away funding from critical research that has nothing to do with what it is they say they care about, right? Which is supposedly cracking down on anti-Semitism. But what they're actually doing is pushing people who are already on the margins further to the margins, and doing it on behalf of people, myself included, as a Black and Jewish woman, who did not ask them to do it for us. So, I mean, all in all, I think it's really just a shame.
Mustafa, you know, Raven talked about anti-intellectualism. It's because they like their supporters dumb.
You know, there's a lot of truth in that, because you have low information voters. It's so much easier to be able to pull the wool over their eyes, to have folks who just operate off of bumper sticker sort of language and not have to dive deep on the critical issues that will have impacts in your life. You know, and of course, we know that Trump is all about disinformation. When you talk about somebody who is uneducated and someone who has a lack of skills, all you got to do is go back and look at what he tries to hide. Now, folks may remember when Michael Cohen actually came to Capitol Hill and shared during that hearing that he had to draft letters both to Trump's high school, to Fordham, and to Wharton, so that you could never take a look at his transcripts. So we know that you got that dynamic going on. We also know, and it's been proven, that he said that he graduated first in his class.
Lie.
It was another untruth. So for him to degrade international students is really interesting, because all of us who have went to college, or not even college, just in other situations with folks who've come from other countries, they often speak multiple languages. They often, you know, maybe had already been a professional in their country and they came here to get the additional education to be able to practice whatever it is, law or medicine or dentistry or a number of other things. So once again, this is the disinformation. This is trying to rewrite both history that's happening in this moment and in the past. And we just have to make sure that we continue to place a spotlight on both the misinformation and the disinformation that they continue to push forward.
Absolutely, because he's a liar, they are liars, that's who they are. All right, gonna go to a break. But before we go to the break, folks, Netflix has a new show streaming right now called She the People. It stars Terry Vaughn. She's one of the co-creators of that particular show. Here's a look at the trailer.
You must be my new lieutenant governor.
I'm ready for duty. I think I can make a difference.
Just be a good girl.
I'm gonna need some dinner and a lot of wine. I really don't think that he thinks I'm qualified. What you gonna do? Pump my shoulders.
When you love something and you earn something, you fight for it.
Kids, do you know who this is? Mary J. Blige. I didn't know we was about to be attacked by all of Nick Cannon's kids at once.
Folks, that's in conjunction with Tyler Perry Studios, and so go to Netflix and check out She the People, starring Terry Vaughn, streaming right now. We'll be right back.
This week at the Black Table, we discuss a place, an idea, a dream, and a reality that everybody on the planet should know about. A place called Mound Bayou.
What about Black people creating their own country, not from the outside in, but from the inside out?
That's next on the Black Table, right here on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up? It's Sammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, Senator Bernie Sanders is doing his usual attacking the Democratic Party. He's still upset because he lost the 2016 nomination because many of the party's officials got behind Hillary Clinton and not him. So he went on the Andrew Schultz podcast and talked about a number of things. And then he claims that the party is not for the people. Okay. All right, listen to this.
I have to ask this. I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt you. We have a question we want to ask about what happened to you in 2016 with this Bernie Bros movement, where your followers are seeing they have a racism problem, a misogyny problem. Do you think that's a super PAC thing behind that?
That was the Democratic establishment. That was the.
Wow. Okay.
That was just, they were sitting there. We had a lot of young people. We had people of color, and they create this kind of myth with the help of the corporate media and all that stuff.
It's kind of interesting to that note is during this election, the podcast space, which the Democrats largely avoided, they feel had some influence in the election, and they started to label us the podcast bros and said that we were sexist and we were racist and bigoted. It's almost like it's the exact same strategy to get you out of there.
Yeah, that's what the liberal elite China does. They run away. Look, again, I would hope that everybody who's watching the program is that we as a nation have got to end all forms of bigotry, right?
Yes.
That I start off as a basic assumption.
Unless it's to your close friends, right?
Yeah, whether it's racism or sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, whatever it is. And liberal Democrats talk about that all the time. And then you get to what we call identity politics.
Yeah.
That you're black, you're wonderful, you're tremendous, you're gay, you're the greatest human being on earth.
Yeah.
And rather than say, what do you stand for?
Exactly.
You're gay, that's fine, who cares?
Yeah.
But what do you stand for?
Yeah.
Is every gay person brilliant and wonderful and great? No, of course not. Everybody's a human being.
Yeah.
So the issue is what you stand for, which gets you back to what we discussed earlier, class politics, in the sense of which side are you on? Are you going to stand with working families? Are you going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage or not? Are you going to fight to guarantee health care to all people or not? Are you going to demand that the wealthiest people start paying their fair share of taxes or not? Those are the issues. And no one cares what color you are, what your gender is, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, allow me to unpack what you just heard. If there's been a blind spot of Senator Bernie Sanders for a very long time, it's on this issue of race. Were there African Americans supporting Senator Bernie Sanders? Yes. Ben Jealous, Cornel West, and others. But the reality is, Bernie Sanders had a black problem. He did. Bernie Sanders could not get the black vote. Bernie Sanders right now still complains about what happened in 2016 and 2020, and he's convinced that he was going to get the nomination. And then there are people who are far left progressives who believe that. I don't. Because the reality is here, America is not a far left progressive nation. It is not. We can sit here and play games that we want to, but the fact of the matter is, it's not. You're a Democrat, you're likely going to have to be a centrist or close to a centrist, because part of the problem with the Democratic Party is the tent is so big. And frankly, it's not as narrow as the Republican Party. Okay? The other thing is this here. Bernie Sanders really has a problem with what he keeps calling identity politics. Bernie Sanders sounds like a right-winger when he does. See, he keeps saying the whole deal, oh, you're black, oh, you're gay, you're great, you're amazing. Well, first of all, Bernie, there was a reason that was a song called Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. There's a reason Roberta Flack and Donna Hathaway had their song as well. There's a reason Aretha Franklin remade the song Respect after Otis Redding did it, and it actually became a women's anthem. Bernie Sanders doesn't want to deal with the reality that, yes, in this country, women, especially black women, have been grotesquely marginalized. And we know what happens to African Americans. Now I know some Bernie Sanders supporters right now say, well, Roland, wait a minute. He was riding hard with Reverend Jackson. He was on the campaign or whatever. Yes, that's absolutely true. But it's not like Vermont does not have issues with mass incarceration. It does not like, it's not like Vermont doesn't have issues when it comes to race. See, I just want people to understand really what we're dealing with here. And I remember when this was a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I can't remember. Bernie had done an interview with GQ and was complaining, railing against these identity politics. And I remember sending a text message to the guy who ran his campaign, Jeff Weaver, who was with Our Revolution. I said, Jeff, I'm gonna tell you right now, Bernie Sanders keeps doing this, I'm gonna light his ass up. So Jeff's like, hey, can I set up a meeting between you and the senator? Yes, you can. So I went to Capitol Hill, and I met with him. And I told Senator Bernie Sanders to his face, I said, you keep railing against identity politics, and what you don't understand is you're speaking negatively about black people. See, Bernie's whole view is this thing is about class. Nah, bro. That's just about class. You could be black and upper class, middle class, lower class, your ass still black. This is Bernie's problem. And see, Bernie Sanders doesn't want to admit that, yes, Bernie bros were sexist. Some were sexist, some were racist. There's a reason why a number of former Bernie bros supporting Trump. Because what Senator Bernie Sanders represents, and I'm telling y'all, I know this, see, people need to understand why there's a symbiotic relationship. Because Senator Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, in many ways, are the same. Tear the system down. So the people that back them are like, yo, tear this shit down. I don't give a damn. Tear it down. It's very similar language. So they identify with one another. And so the Bernie people, they're mad at Congressman Jim Clyburn. First of all, Congressman Jim Clyburn endorsed then Vice President Biden. He couldn't cast every ballot. Congressman Jim Clyburn represents one congressional district in South Carolina. He don't control the whole state. Do people respect him? Yes. Do they value his perspective? Yes. But people made individual decisions. And see, this is what Bernie Sanders and all of these other white progressives don't understand. Black people are some of the smartest political minds you will find. So let me show y'all what happened in 2020. Black people, so remember, Iowa, well, I think Buttigieg won. Then they went to Nevada. Bernie won at the caucus there. Then they come to South Carolina. And if y'all want to see the racism among these white Democrats, especially Bernie's people, they shit it all over the black people. These are black, they're rural. We have no chance of winning the state, so we don't care what they think. Really? Here's what black people did in 2020. Black people went, who do I think can beat Trump? Black people said, we got Vice President Kamala Harris. We got Senator Cory Booker. We got Pete Buttigieg. We got Amy Klobuchar. We got Tulsi Gabbard. Late in, Bloomberg jumped in. Deval Patrick jumped in. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. I know I'm leaving off about 2 or 3 people. But that literally was a Democratic field. And black people went, who do we think can beat this white man, Trump? This white man right here. This old white man we think he can beat Trump. And they picked Biden. Was Vice President Biden the most charismatic candidate? Nope. Was Vice President Biden the most energetic candidate? Nope. Black people are pragmatic voters. Black people, see, everybody forget, black people weren't sitting here riding for Obama. August of 2008, hell, he was down, August 2007, he was down 20 points to Hillary Clinton. His black numbers were real low. Because black people were like, man, I don't know, this brother got a shot. Because black people said, I don't know, white folks gonna vote for him. See, we gotta wake up to a reality. 71% of the electorate in 2024 were white voters. If you put all the black voters and Hispanic voters and Asian voters and Native American voters all together, you get 29%. So Bernie Sanders is still bothered. Because he lost. So then Bernie Sanders talked about the elites, and you know, this is what the elites say, and this is what the elites think. Well, Bernie, can you please name the elites? See, this is why I don't let people get away with that language. It's the elites. Name them. Name them. People go, well, Bernie, how many bills have you actually passed? It's a fair question. So he is still bothered because he could not get the votes. And Breonna and all these people can run around, oh, he didn't have a fair shot. No. Bernie Sanders would have got dusted even more so. Because you know what they would have did to him? Which is what they did to Obama, they did to Biden. Socialist. How well did the Republicans calling Biden a socialist work in Florida? What the hell do you think they would have called Senator Bernie Sanders? So Senator Bernie Sanders keeps talking about class. Okay. Let's see here. Bernie Sanders and AOC tour. And they keep talking about, oh my God, how popular they are among Democrats. Okay. So it was the Fighting Oligarchy tour. Okay. So they went to, just keep it right here, keep it on me. So they went to Omaha, Nebraska as the first stop. Y'all know in Nebraska, it's a sea of red and there's a blue dot. That's Omaha. Then they went to Las Vegas. Then they went to Denver. Then they went to LA. Okay. They didn't go to West Virginia. They didn't go to North Carolina. They didn't go to Georgia. They didn't go to Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas. I can keep naming them. So if Senator Sanders wants to have a conversation about class, why don't you go where the class discrepancies really are? I'll be honest with y'all. Being a Democrat and doing a tour fighting oligarchy and going to Omaha, Denver, Las Vegas, and LA, that shit ain't fighting. First of all, help me understand something. See, y'all, Since we really want to go there. You say it's about class. You keep talking about working class, working class, working class, working class. How many working class people do you know walk around going, so Mustafa, what are your thoughts on that oligarchy? They don't say that. They don't even use those phrases. So you're talking about how we're not for the people, we're not for the... No! Senator Sanders and AOC are actually talking to the elites. Him sitting down with those four dudes. All right. I have never received an invite from Senator Bernie. Matter of fact, I'm just going to go ahead and just, before I go to my panel, I'm about to mess y'all up. When Bernie Sanders ran for president, Bernie Sanders wasn't doing no black media. His folks were trying to get him to do it. I called Marcus Farrell, called Teslin Figaro, called a sister who was his campaign man. Y'all, I'm trying to tell y'all. They were trying to get him to do that. We booked him on the Time during the morning show. Let me tell you what happened. I got the text message. Don't make me pull out receipts. Bernie was out west. He canceled. I lit that ass up. Ben Jealous called me. Yo, Ro, hold up. Before you go off on social, let me work on it. Ben Jealous hit. Dog, you cannot cancel the Time during the morning show. Because he didn't think it was important. Now, he eventually came on. But he's like, well, you know, that's just too early for me to get up. You running for fucking president. Get your ass up. That video we just showed y'all is the Achilles heel of Bernie Sanders. Is that he acts like you can remove race and only focus on class, and that is absolutely stupid. And he keeps making the same mistake, and I'm just going to let you know, Senator, you were never going to get the nomination because you could not win enough core voters to get it. And the places that were not going to vote for you, you could not get black votes in any of those southern states, including North Carolina and Georgia. So can we please stop fooling ourselves with this ridiculous game of you going on podcasts with mostly white dudes, whining about the elites, when it's actually the elites that support you. Mustafa, you first.
You know what's interesting? I've sat down with him in meetings, done different interviews with him. And there is a problem that exists. And I don't know if it's a part of politics or what it is, but we love to extract race out of the conversation and try and replace it with class. And we have huge sets of examples, all kinds of studies that are out there that show where the real disparities lie. That's not to say that if you're poor or lower wealth and white, that you're not impacted, but we know there is a difference in that. And I don't know why he has not yet evolved into understanding that when you extract race, you are sending a message to the folks who are dealing with and carrying that burden that this country places upon them. I've sat in this before and heard how conversations with one set of folks went, and then I'm sitting outside in the chair, sort of digesting the meeting I just came out of, and then heard how conversations went with a different set of folks who looked different than the people who were in the room when I was in there. And there was more time given. Now, I understand I worked on Capitol Hill, and sometimes you may have limited time, but I would expect there to be equity in that from an individual who says that they are for the people. It's just a real interesting thing. The other part of it is that if you're really about the folks who are being impacted, then you have to go and spend time with them. Not spend time with them on the campaign trail, but you actually got to spend time with everyday folks on their back porch, in their kitchens, having conversations with them so that you've ground truth what's going on. So there's real authenticity in what you're sharing. I say that because when politicians come, whether it's Mississippi or West Virginia or a whole bunch of other places, and if you're a millionaire, it's sometimes hard for people to actually believe that you understand what they're dealing with on a daily basis. When you're trying to keep the lights on, put food on the table, trying to figure out, how you're going to pay for asthma medicine, or if you're going to actually have to go and pay the rent. So, you've got these individuals whom I think have some real caring, but there's this huge disconnect between what they're sharing and what they're doing. There's a quote that says, "I can't believe what you say because I see what you do." Folks need to really take that to heart if they want to be authentic in helping folks who have been vulnerable or have been unseen and unheard.
Dang, Raven, Democrats haven't done enough for working class people. The last administration was the most pro-union administration since FDR. What the hell is he talking about?
I'll start by saying this. I really like a lot of Bernie Sanders' politics and positionalities. I think he gets a lot right. But to affirm what you all have been saying, I think in this instance, he really missed the mark. And I kind of want to scaffold out why the mark was missed. First of all, when we're talking about a class analysis that does not also account for gender, for race, for sexuality, for disability is an incomplete class analysis. So even this idea of talking about class in a way that is devoid of identity. Also, socioeconomic status is an identitarian factor. It is one that is porous and that changes and moves, but it is still an identitarian factor. So to frame it as if it's completely separate from these other lived experiences is a faulty place to start. The two things I want to talk about in this situation, first is this idea that the liberal elites are levying these unfair claims of bigotry. And secondly, this idea that identity politics is devoid of utility or isn't working for us. To that first point, when we're talking about the liberal elites, whatever that means in Bernie Sanders' imagination, there's an important distinction to be made here. There is a difference between accountability and moral absolutism. One thing I think we do very, very well on the left is we hold people accountable. We do not worship our politicians. When politicians do right by us, we praise them. And when they do wrong by us, we hold their feet by the fire. And I do think that is a huge distinguishing factor between how we move on the left and how they move on the right. The right feels way more cultish to me. They fall in line, okay? And so I value that on the left, we have the ability to hold people accountable when it matters. Now, where that gets dangerous and where I sort of see where Bernie Sanders is coming from is when that veers into moral absolutism. This idea that my positionality is the absolute correct one, and anyone who doesn't fall exactly where I do in this spectrum of belief is somehow inherently wrong. That is dangerous. And I think that's where our coalition falls apart sometimes because we opt into these carceral logics of discarding one another when someone isn't perfect. And at the end of the day, perfection is white supremacy culture. Expecting perfection is white supremacy culture. And I think that is a very, very dangerous trap that we do fall into sometimes. But that accountability piece is still there, and we do get it right a lot. And so I think it's also intellectually lazy to imply that when we hold these manosphere podcasters on the internet like Andrew Schultz accountable and call them bigoted or call out moments of bigotry, that is not true or is always false or is somehow just this liberal elite tactic. The last thing I want to talk about is identity politics, because real talk, Bernie Sanders doesn't understand what identity politics is. And I'm going to break it down for you. I have a master's degree in African-American studies. I'm deeply learned and read in Black feminisms. And I say feminisms with an S intentionally. If you know, you know. Black feminists coined the term identity politics. Okay? The term identity politics was coined in the Combahee River Collective Statement, which is a statement that was made by a cohort of Black women in the late 1970s. In this statement, they break it down for us. And I have the quote for you because I like to bring my receipts. Very briefly, they say in the statement, quote, "This focusing upon our own oppression is embodied in the concept of identity politics. We believe that the most profound and potentially most radical politics come directly out of our own identity, as opposed to working to end somebody else's oppression." So what that means is, in this moment where the women's liberation movement is not contending seriously with race and the Black liberation movement is not contending seriously enough with gender, this cohort of Black women are like, you know what, we're going to focus on getting us free, because we fundamentally believe that if we can figure out how to get us free, we'll figure out how to get everyone else free, because our oppression is interlocking with everyone else. So to focus on oneself, to turn in on oneself, is a particular sort of political taking up, right, that is being offered through identity politics. That is not what Bernie Sanders is saying, which to me demonstrates he doesn't understand what identity politics is. His reading of identity politics is, well, I'm Black and they're Black, so they can do no wrong. So I'm team them. No, if that were the case, then I'd be rocking with Candace Owens and I'd be rocking with Clarence Thomas, and I'm not. For me, that's not the end all be all. And in that sense, I hear what he's saying, right? It's not necessarily about how one identifies. It's like, what are your politics? Do you want to get free the way I want to get free? If you do, you're my people. I don't care what your identity is beyond that, right? If you want to get free the way I want to get free, dope. But to water down identity politics to this weird identitarian solely based fidelity is it's just untrue. It's not rooted in truth. And frankly, erases the labor of Black feminists who created identity politics as a particular way of imagining freedom in the first place. And some of that I definitely hold him culpable for, but also I think a lot of that is just emblematic of how people relate to language. This is not the first time that as a community we've invented language to imagine our own freedom, and it has been taken up and distorted and turned into something that it was never intended to be, and made to perform work that it was never intended to perform. And I think we see that really showing out in this conversation he's having with Andrew Schultz.
Sorry, Matt, you have to follow that.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to follow that, but I am going to steal that rhetoric of, I think she said, talking ourselves into carceral positions, which is just chef's kiss. I mean, what a beautiful way to say that, because I think that's emblematic of a lot of what we hear when we have these conversations about the silos and the far ends of the spectrum when we're having conversations about politics. So I think that's a great way to frame it. But all I'll add is this, really in two parts. The first thing is, I think a nuanced analysis allows us to look at what Bernie's saying and see if there's any value there. I will say, I have a lawyer that I have lunch with often. He's a dear friend of mine. I went out with him and a group of people today, and he has told me more times than I can count that he feels the Democratic Party failed by focusing on too many discrete identity issues. That doesn't necessarily mean he's right. That doesn't mean he's got all of the bona fides for electoral politics that some of the people on this panel do. But I do think it's important that there's at least some sentiment out there that there's some contingent of people in the Democratic Party who think there's been too much focus on identity politics. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think Bernie is speaking to that to some extent. And I think in order to think critically and to analyze this truthfully, we have to consider if there's any value in that statement. Now, the full stop part of that is, the reality is, Raven's exactly right. I think on the left, we do hold people accountable when we think they've done wrong. But what we do not do is we don't parse out what they're saying and what they actually mean and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And the irony of all of this is the United States is definitely an oligarchy. We know that. But both Forbes and Yahoo Finance in the last 2 years have published numbers that say the number of households in the United States of America that have $1 million or more are between 8.8% and like 12%. So let's call the average 10%. That means if Bernie is worth more than $1 million, which my understanding is he's worth more than $3 million, he's in that rarefied air. So I tell you that to say populism is leverageable. You see it on both sides of the political aisle. You see it with Bernie and you see it with Mr. Trump. That's exactly what Mr. Trump has tried to do in his base in riling up poor people in southern states, primarily white people, telling them that the government is too involved in their lives and taking away things that they're just as reliant on as the people he decries that don't look like them, Black and brown people and people in urban population centers. I say all of that to say, I think some of that is true with Bernie. I think for a long time, he has just been seen as this, perceived populist icon. But if you look at it, he's a part of the very oligarchy that he speaks against. So I think what we have to do on the left is be more critical sometimes at what we put up as our icons and whether those icons are living the truth that they espouse, number one. But number two, I think we have to consider, electorally, is there any value in what he's saying? Because I'm hearing that on the ground. I'm hearing that from dyed-in-the-wool Democrats where they think that. And of course, that's anecdotal. That's not every single person's opinion. But I don't think that that's a conversation we shouldn't have. I think that is a conversation we're having. However, I think Bernie is also an 83-year-old man, and old people tend to say what they say without filters. And that may not be the marching orders we need to have as the Democratic Party going forward for electoral success. But I have heard it with my own ears from a man I had lunch with today that he has the same sentiment. So I think there's a question about what value is there, if any, in the statement.
All right, so let me ask this. So when he stated that, did you say, name them? Name the issues. Did that happen?
I honestly don't remember what we talked about after that.
Because here's my whole point.
A few times. He didn't mention it today.
No. But here's my whole point. And I guarantee you, matter of fact, I might just go down the panel. Raven, when that happens to you, do you say, name them?
Name them in terms of like naming.
When somebody says, oh, I really think Democrats are focusing too much on identity issues. Do the people who say that, do they ever name it?
No. I mean, oftentimes I feel like that's just a stand-in for I don't want to take seriously the experiences of people on the margin.
Right. But I'm saying they never name it. Hold on 1 second. Mustafa, when you ever hear that phrase, do you ever hear them name it?
No, they don't.
Now, so let me unpack it. When I force people to name it, do you know what I hear the most? Trans. What I hear the most when I force people to answer that question, this is what I've heard. Black people, white people. They felt that the Democratic Party elevated trans issues to the same level as African Americans and women and others, and that became a dominant issue. What I've heard from people say out of their mouths that they felt that the Biden administration in so many policy was trans. How do I know that that's what happened? What do Republicans do? What was Donald Trump's most effective commercials? When he pulled the clip of Vice President Harris talking about surgeries for trans prisoners. That actually started under Trump. But here's the point that I'm making. We allow people to use that phrase and not force them to say, no, name it. You keep saying, oh, well, I think the Democratic Party went too far. Name them. See, I want them to say, Democratic Party went too far for Black Lives Matter. Say it. I want them to say, yeah, Democratic Party, went too hard for this breaking the glass ceiling stuff with Hillary and Kamala. Say it. See, none of those podcasts is talking to Bernie. None of them made them. See, these people either throw the phrase out. I see this on mainstream media. I see it they never force them to name it. My deal is name it and claim it. And I just think that that's what we have to do. We have to start forcing people to actually put their name on it. No. Name me the specific issues or groups where they went too far.
Yeah.
They don't want to do that. Because, see, it's real easy to stay broad. That's supposed to be specific.
Yeah. Well, Roland, people don't want uncomfortable conversations, and that's the problem that we have. Because if we have people to name it, and you know me, I automatically ask folks, show me the proof.
Yeah, they can't name woke. They can't name, there's always something. My deal is, I'm not letting them off the hook. And Senator Bernie Sanders, I've seen him do this way too many times. No, Bernie, I need you to name it. When Bernie Sanders says, Democratic Party hasn't done anything for the working class. Shit. Pull a whole damn thing. Oh, this. And then, okay, Bernie, tell me what more you want done. Tell me the bill that you sponsored to achieve that. I'm all about accountability. I'm not letting people off the hook. I'm just not letting them off the hook. I just can't. So that's what I think what we have to do. And between now and the midterms next year, we cannot let people, at least Slotkin, run her ass around Democratic Party, went too far woke. No, hell no. I need black folks in Michigan to put our ass on the spot and say, no. What the hell do you mean when you say too woke? What do you mean by that? We cannot allow, I'm going to say this very clear. This is for Senator Bernie Sanders, Senator Slotkin. This is for Senator Chris Murphy, James Carville, all of them. We cannot allow white Democrats to use the same language as Republicans when really what they're saying is, I think we are too black. I'm going to leave it at that. Candace Kelley joins us right now. Candace has been, of course, covering the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Candace, a lot been popping and going on. This testimony brings us up to date.
Well, listen, this week was really interesting, especially for the prosecution, who I think made a lot of headway. This is not to say that Diddy is going to jail directly, even though I think there's a very good chance. But, you know, we heard from a lot of very interesting witnesses that certainly, not the least of, was Kid Cudi. But I do want to say, before I get to Kid Cudi, that we did see the mother of Cassie take the stand, Regina Ventura. Very interesting. This is someone who took out $20,000 as a loan on her house in order to give it to Sean Combs. That was his request. And we really got to see, if this is true, the tentacles that he had on Cassie, not just within her confines, but within her world, in her family group, a place that you would find safety in. He was getting his mother to give him $20,000. The $20,000, by the way, was something that he said he was recouping because he heard that Cassie was dating someone else. We also heard from a psychologist, a forensic psychologist, to really contextualize what Cassie was going through. And we learned about the dynamics of domestic violence and things of that nature, and bonding over this type of domestic violence with someone, and being economically unstable because of somebody's hold that they have on you. So a lot of things that we learned, but what everyone is talking about certainly is Kid Cudi. This was the first time that he has said anything about this particular case, and we are talking specifically about the fact that his car, his Porsche, was blown up right in his driveway. This is the first time he's talked about it. He did file a police report about it, but to hear him and see him on the stand, what was different in that regard. What he said was that he was dating Cassie, and Cassie called him and told him that Sean found out about it, and that she actually gave Sean Combs his address. Well, she feared for her safety, and he took her to a hotel. At that time, he got a call from his assistant, allegedly. He said, his assistant said she had been kidnapped, brought to Kid Cudi's home with Sean Combs and another party, and they were all inside of the house. Again, this is while Kid Cudi is in a safe place with Cassie Ventura at a hotel. It really all unfolds like a movie, Roland. I mean, some of the details of this case are just incredible. So the burglary happened because, according to law, that is a burglary when you go into someone's house and you are not supposed to be there. By the time Kid Cudi got back to the home, Sean Combs wasn't there. But by the way, he did call Sean Combs, he said on the stand, to say, "Are you in my house?" And he said, "Yeah, and I'm waiting for you to see me." Got there. His dog was in the bathroom, door locked. Christmas gifts, because it was during Christmas time. He had gone, or someone had gone through a number of them. Kid Cudi said he believes that it was Sean. Now we fast forward to the explosion 2 or 3 weeks later. Molotov cocktail inside of his Porsche, burns it. You can see all the pictures online. Everything is charred. This after Cassie had mentioned in her testimony that when he found out that Cassie was dating Kid Cudi, that he said, "You know what? I'm going to burn his car because of this, and I'm going to explode it. And when that happens, I'm going to be out of the country, and you won't even be able to blame me." So Kid Cudi believes because of this, right? This is something that he knew ahead of time. Then it actually happened. Roland, I'm not saying that we have video evidence of Sean Combs doing it, and I'm not even saying that he physically do it. But if you connect those dots, This was pretty damning testimony. And when we look at the RICO charge, one of the charges that it takes in order to kind of get to RICO is arson. And that's what this would be considered. This would be a predicate crime for RICO. Very good week for the prosecution.
All right, then. Candace, we appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
All right, you too.
Folks, got to go to break. We come back. We're going to talk about a new show launching on Roland Martin Unfiltered and the Black Star Network, Truth Talks. We'll talk to two of the co-hosts coming up next. Also, Justice Smollett drops a statement after he has ended his battle with the city of Chicago over that. There was a constant back and forth. Also, 50 black churches will be protesting and picketing outside of Targets on Sunday, the 5th anniversary of the murder of George Floyd. All of that, plus my interview with Terry Vaughn, star of Netflix's new show, She the People. All that in the second hour of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Don't forget, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. If you want to support our work via Cash App, here's the Stripe QR code. This is what you use to contribute via Cash App. You, of course, can also send a check and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037 7-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Of course, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And we want you to also get our Roland Martin Unfiltered Black Star Network swag. Of course, so you can get that. We've got all sorts of items, T-shirts, mugs, hoodies, wall art, you name all that good stuff. And you, of course, you see the folks really love our shirts. Don't blame me. I voted for the black woman. And of course, and so I had my man Keenan change the shirt. Go to my iPad because I want to just isolate it. This is our new shirt. Hashtag, we tried to tell you, FAFO 2025 with project crossed out. And so you can get that at rolandmartin.creator-spring.com. Back in a moment.
This week on the other side of change.
We're talking sinners, we're talking the Met Gala, we are talking about Black and Asian solidarity just in time for AAPI Heritage Month, and we're talking with our brilliant friend Malavika Cannon.
Nothing about these alliances is necessarily natural, except for the fact that we all are people who are trying to stay safe.
Tune in only on the other side of change on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life, we are talking about the many women and female role models that play an integral role in our lives, from helping to boost our self-esteem to checking us when we get out of line. These women deserve their flowers for helping us to become who we are today.
The women in my lives who have just impacted me so much, have challenged me. They're women who made me want to live right and love right.
That's all next on A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network.
How you doing? My name is Mark Carey, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Deep into it, like pasteurized milk without the 2%. We getting deep. You want to turn that shit off? We're doing an interview, motherfucker.
Told you we were cooking some great things up in 2025. And beginning on Monday, this new show will be airing on this network. Check this out.
Coming soon to the Black Star Network.
Let's go. Truth Talks is the fastest growing show about pop culture, and now we're exclusively on our own channel.
Go ahead, say it, man.
Attention! We're back. We gotta stop letting this slide. Bigger and stronger than ever.
I mean, I just have questions.
Season 2 is reloading May 26th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
What's up?
With new hosts.
Let me tell you what damn time it is.
And big celebrity surprises.
Kiss my behind. It's Oprah Winfrey.
Subscribe today at Truth Talks Live.
Give black people what they need, and we'll show them for you.
And don't miss out on all the upcoming viral moments.
Simulcasting weeknights at 8 p.m. on Roland Martin Unfiltered and Black Star Network and Truth Talks Live.
I'll see you there.
Well, joining me right now, two of the co-hosts, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant and Touré. Glad to have both of you here. So, Dr. Bryant, let's talk about season 2. First of all, for people who don't know, what Truth Talks is. This will be the second season of it. Explain it.
Yeah. Listen, we are season 2, fired up. I got to give shout outs to our executive producers, though. 2 powerful Black women, Lori and Jody Gomes, who are financing this entire season 2 and show all on their own. So I just have to put that out there because, it's not often that happens, and we're grateful for them. But Roland, season 2 is just, we have so many different guests coming on. You never know who's going to pop up. We are the only platform that is uniting the multi-generational representation and voices of Black people. Okay, as we know, Black media is being silenced, and we're not allowing that on our show. We are speaking Black, very Black, standing on it, doubling down on it. And we have 4 hosts with revolving guest hosts that are going to come in and give a different representation of what Black is, right? We also blend, politics to trending cultures. And what I love a lot is that we embrace the liberal and conservative perspective. And it's not for us to argue about it and debate. It's more about allowing our viewers, as well as the co-hosts and the hosts, to have a better understanding of Black politics, Black legislation, what works for us, what doesn't work for us, and to bridge the gap between the different representations of a diverse, a marginalized community that has so many different marginalizations that people try to group us into one that just isn't always representation of us as a whole. So.
Well, I don't mind having Black conservatives on. They just have a problem lying when they come on, so it doesn't end well for them here. Teray?
Well, no, I find the same thing with Black conservatives, but I do welcome them to our show. And we actually have somebody who I'm actually finding some intellectual congress with in Dr. Sarah Fontenot. She's a conservative, but she's actually coming with really interesting ideas. She's a really interesting person. So we have at least 4 really interesting, real, honest, smart Black people, multi-generational, who want to just get in there and have an argument about the big things that we are talking about as a people. So we're going to have that awesome conversation that you have with your friends when you sit down to dinner with a glass of wine and start arguing about what's really going on in the news and in the culture. That's the show we are.
Obviously, it's a whole lot going on in terms of pop culture. A lot of things happening from Hollywood to music, Dr. Brian. And what's killing me on social, if I got to listen to another damn 50-50 conversation of these people on they're getting on my... I had a sister on, a personal finance expert, Shani Curry, who was just like angry as all get out. I love these people who whine about 50-50, but right now they're paying 100-0.
Come on.
Like I just think like that's just the stupidest shit in the world. So you paying 100 right now, but you saying, I ain't going 50-50. Okay, keep your ass at 100.
Roland, don't get me started because I already have a thing where I say flag on the play. That's a red flag.
I just like it's crazy. When I see all these so-called relationships, I'm telling you, if I see another. To me, relationship discussions on podcasts are just like business people. And I first go, what business are you running? What business do you have or have? I'm sorry. You were selling stuff at the back of your trunk. Okay, yeah, let me go ahead and listen to your #1 entrepreneur podcast. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Wait, I got something to say about that because, Torre, and I'm going to tag you in because I love what you said, right? I'm single. I've been engaged a couple times, caught off 2 weddings, and I'm not a mama bear yet. Can't wait to be married and be a parent. However, folks ask me, similar to what you just said, what makes you think you can give relationship advice? And I say, listen, I don't want to hear you've been married 15 years and miserable 13. I don't want to hear you've been in 2 or 3 marriages that failed, and you want to give me your failed advice. I'll pass. Okay. What I'm doing is not teaching people to be married. I'm teaching them to get out of their own way. 2 happy people make for a happy marriage. 2 unhealed, miserable people with a lot of pain make for a trauma bond. So no one teaches you how to be married. We teach you how to be a wholesome, happy person so you can bring that to your relationship.
Roland, I've tried to tell the brothers, when you go on a date, it's beyond 50-50. When the bill comes, don't look at it. Just hand your card. Don't even look at the bill. Like, I got this. I got you. Like, I don't be looking an item like, oh, did the server get everything? Just give her the card and keep it moving. But if you really want to provide, it's not just financial.
Yep.
You got to tell them what you feel. And we don't talk about that with the other guys. So we got to exercise different muscles when we're trying to create relationships with women. Talk about your feelings. We're not used to that. We got to get used to that because that's what they want to hear about. What's going on in your heart, less what's going on in your wallet and more what's going on in your heart. That's harder for us to figure out.
Hey, my show called Unfiltered. I ain't dealing with none of that bullshit. I'm just gonna keep it real, keep it straight. If your ass don't have a passport, don't bring your ass to me about taking you out the country.
Roland, listen, and if your ass can't book flights and the whole trip, don't come to me with a date wanting to be with me and date me and be upset. Because listen, you taking me on a trip. I do want to hear emotions, like Torre said. I do want some vulnerability, but damn it, can you front the bill? And it's not about the paying part. It's the principle that you are providing for something that you want us to enjoy. Doesn't mean that at some point I won't spoil you as my man, but I want to see that my man is vertical in who he is, and he can afford to do the things and contribute to a lifestyle that I have created and I am sustaining for myself. And there's nothing wrong with women wanting that.
And I don't give a damn. Listen, I'm serious. I don't give a damn about all the popping the balloons. I don't care about all of it. I think what has happened is, and this is why I believe you have to have honest shows that don't waste time with bullshit, because the reality is there is a significant amount of bullshit that exists that is circulating in our community. I am highly I'm highly critical of so many of us been so inundated with entertainment and sports, and then when something pops off, we go, man, I ain't know, because your ass don't watch no news. That's why. But I just think that there's a moment to call out a lot of the craziness that exists out here. And when I look at things that y'all have done on Truth Talks, I think that has to happen because, and I think we also got to put some names on it, because it's a bunch of folk people shouldn't be listening to. Just like I tell people, y'all should be listening to these dumbass talk about the news, because they don't know what they talking about.
We talked about that, Torre. I'm going to tag you in. We talked about that in one of our episodes where we were saying that our social media black news is World Star. It's Shade Room, right? And that is not our news. Our news is much more bigger and global, and it expands past that. And so we don't get to hear about politics or legislation. We don't get to hear how these policies systemically are not fucking created for us. They're not authored for us. And because we don't have a seat at the table doesn't mean we can't author legislation. Because we don't have a title doesn't mean that we can't be in the room at the fucking table, excuse my language, having a strong opinion and moving legislation and moving seats and moving the table. People and folks seem to think in our community that if you're not a doctor, attorney, elected official, then your voice doesn't matter. Every single person that looks like us has a responsibility, and their voice holds weight.
Absolutely. Questions from our panel. I'll start with Mustafa.
Yeah, well, congratulations on season 2. I'm looking forward to it. I'm curious. There are all these different attempts to pull our community apart. Whether we talk about misinformation, disinformation, all these different types of things. Can you talk about 3 or 4 of the, sort of hot issues that you hope to help people to garner additional information about, but also, how we begin to heal as a people?
I think that is a great, great question. I think that we need to realize that real estate isn't the real wealth, that family is. And that as long as we continue to create broken homes and broken houses, guess what? We don't have no wealth, because it takes a team, and that team to build generational wealth has to be a generation that's called family. We don't family, we don't commune. And guess what? We are the brokest socioeconomic community and race of people that exists. And it's to that point. Asian Americans, or Asians in general, they family, they commune, they hire their family, they create these corporations, they operate in that space. So do Caucasians. So do a lot of the Latin communities. We don't do that. And until we do that, we can't have generational wealth. Who are we leaving our life insurance to? If we have 10 kids by 6 different women or 6 different men, we have to create more husband and wives. We have to create more families and less baby mamas and baby daddies. And I stand on that. I'm very, very triggered by that, because of the fact that we are talking about a collective of people. right? Which is called community. But we don't even have community in our household, which means, and I'll land on this, if our household has no community, that means what? Our block doesn't, our neighborhood doesn't. If our neighborhood doesn't, our community doesn't. If our community doesn't, guess what? Our whole race of people does not have that. It starts at home, in the house, with the person making a better fucking choice.
Roland, the thing that I want folks to hear from me and perhaps get from this show is that there is nothing inherently wrong with Black people, and there's nothing inherently wrong with Black culture. Black people's greatest problem is white people. White privilege, white supremacy, and the legacy of slavery and segregation.
Add one more in there, white validation.
Absolutely. White victimhood. We could keep going on. White fragility. But those are our biggest problems. And I love Black culture. You know how I love Black culture. Spent so much of my career uplifting great Black culture. And I want to continue to do that and talk about how great we are and identify our actual problems, which fall under the umbrella of white supremacy.
Raven.
Yeah.
Raven.
Yeah, I mean, a big mazel tov to both of you for the show. It sounds super exciting. I can't wait to watch. I think my question is really around the utility of having conversations.
Wait, I follow you on TikTok.
Oh, you follow me?
You're Black and Jewish, right?
I am Black and Jewish.
I am too. And it's a late in life finding. And I have been following you as part of trying to understand what that even means, that mixture.
Boy, this ain't no damn family reunion.
Brother, let's connect after this. That's so sick. Oh my God. Wow. Well, shalom. No, I mean, so awesome. But really my question is about, what is the utility of having a conversation intra-communally with other Black folks across a political spectrum of beliefs? Because I feel like a lot of the conversation I'm seeing right now in the internet, like ether, is that this is just like not generative. Like there's this really isolationist thing that's happening where people are pulling away from one another. Folks don't want to be in dialogue. So yeah, what is the utility of having that intra-communal political spectrum conversation with Black folks?
I mean, we are not monolithic as a people, right? Some of us are conservative. Some of us are LGBTQ. Some of us are whatever. Also, a multi-generational conversation. It allows us to interact with all different sorts of ideas. Most of the people we talk to are our peers, right? And when you're suddenly dealing with, a 35-year-old conservative talking to an 80-year-old like me, it's like, wow, like we're having like a conversation and a clash of ideas that we didn't normally expect to have. Or when I'm talking to Dr. B about like her relationships and where she's come from politically and socially, we don't always agree. But those are where you have to really identify what you really believe. When she starts saying, I disagree with what you're saying, you have to really come to grips with like, what do you really think? So that makes you really sharpen what you really believe.
Tori, I love that. I want to add to that was great. I want to add to that. I think there's two different groups of Black people. And our responsibility as leaders is to bridge that gap, which is called cleaving. There's one group that knows politics, knows legislation, loves to have that conversation. It's not a challenge for them because they have been talking about it. They've been in think tanks. They've been in rooms. Maybe their family talked about it as a young child. And so learned behavior is innately, they understand the conversation. Then there's the other group of Black people who are afraid of the conversation. They don't understand it. Not because they don't want to. It's not in their normal conversations. It's not in their think tanks. That is not their daily text messages to their friends. That's not what they're watching. That's not what their social media allows them, or their algorithm is having them see. And so I think it's important for us to bridge the gap where instead of us looking at the differences, like Torrey said, the folks who do understand, the folks who it's not a challenge for, should be attempting to meet these folks where they are so that they can understand the logistics of it without judging them or feeling like they're ignorant or that they don't vote or that they don't have a desire to understand. And the folks that are in this group should be open-minded to allowing the people to say, listen, let me teach you, let me show you, let this be a learning space where we can bridge the gap so that we don't become so divided, because a house divided can't stand, but a community, as we see, that's been divided ain't standing. So we got to bridge that gap.
Matt.
So I'm going to add to the family reunion element and just say, Touré, I read the Portable Promised Land my first year at Howard, and I've loved your work since then. So it's a great.
Oh my God! Can you ask a question?
Will you stop, Roland? Yeah, this is every week. He don't like it when he don't have the attention, but that's a different conversation. In the event.
Man, I will turn your goddamn microphone off. I know you did not.
You got my number. Just call me.
This audio's peaking on my end, Roland.
Man, I will cut your shit. Go ahead.
Mic off in 3, 2, 1.
Here's my question. So I haven't had the pleasure of watching the show, but my understanding is the format is kind of a departure from a lot of the normal shows in terms of music and other things on there. And I'm interested in what went into how you formulated the show, like how you thought to present it with purely conversations and not some of the other things you normally see. I'd be interested in seeing kind of how y'all approach that.
Well, the producers talked about let's get that vibe of you just got together with your friends and you want to keep it real about what's going on with your life or with the news, what's going on in culture, and that conversation you have. But I think it's critical, as we were saying, that it's 4 different people coming from 4 different walks of life, all Black, but different. And I find, I don't know about you, Dr. B, I find I get a lot of hope for the future talking to the younger folks who are they have great ideas, they have great passion, they have great energy, they have great intellect. And I think they're looking at us, or at least me, because Dr. B is also very young, but they're looking at me like, oh, wow, the older folks aren't so bad, right? The unks aren't so bad.
Yeah, well, Torrey, I'm actually an auntie. I'm 42. I'm embracing it now, but I'm an auntie. You're a grandpa. I'm an auntie. But I want to say, season 1, because you're a damn grandpa.
Damn,
okay?
you made his ass feel old as hell.
But I want to say, season 1, we started off pretty much with our set that had a bar. We were the unapologetic Black voice that had conversations that happened after happy hour, after that first drink you have, and it was just raw and unapologetic. And we made sure that those voices were very loud and represented something within the Black community that made sense. As me being the president of NAACP in Los Angeles for San Pedro, Wilmington, and Palos Verdes, I've noticed that Palos Verdes being predominantly white, right, and I represent that jurisdiction, that the Black folks in that community have a different representation. They have a different identity as being Black. And so what Truth Talks does is it blends all of it, and it allows the viewers to say, I identify with this person who's been in the suburbs. I identify with the Dr. B, who comes from the inner city, who went from the hood to the hills. I identify, with Torrey, who's this East Coaster who has a different perspective on things. Or I don't identify with nobody, and I can make my own identity, and I can also have some type of pushback toward that without feeling demonized or weaponized, but I can learn from different perspectives so that we, again, can become a collective and unify, not in having to be in one box, but in understanding that we do represent, just like we look different, we represent different. And that's one thing that Truth Talks brings is, folks don't always agree with half of the shit that we say. Some people are like, Dr. B, you're always smoking, killing it, throwing gems. Some people are like, this woman is bananas. Where does she get this fairy tale ideology from? But my Black is different than other people, but it doesn't make me or them less Black. It brings in a unified, thing that doesn't further the marginalization or that deficit.
All right, folks, 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. You can check out Truth Talks streaming right here, following my show on Black Star Network on our Roland Martin Unfiltered YouTube channel. And folks, if y'all are not subscribing, do so. We're now, of course, moving towards 2 million followers on our YouTube channel. We're at 1.8 million, so we can't wait to hit 2 million. And so things have been going great. Dr. Bryant, appreciate it. Teray, thanks a bunch. Good luck with season 2, and look forward to the conversation on Monday.
Thanks,
brother. Hey, really quick, Roland. You
Yes.
and I did. Oh my gosh, why am I having a brain fart? I work with them all the time.
You can't even remember.
No, be quiet, okay? Be quiet. Attorney Crump. We did his event I think a year or two ago. We work a lot because I'm president of NAACP, and obviously he works with my branch on many.
You mean the awards event that took place in LA?
The awards, you got awarded. I hosted.
Yeah, it was at the LAX Marriott.
And he does it every year. So yeah, we worked that event together. You got recognized, and I was like hosting or doing something there. So good to see you informally again.
Likewise. All right, good luck. Appreciate it. See y'all soon.
Got it.
Going to a break. When we come back, we'll talk Jussie Smollett. We'll talk Target. 50 churches going to be picketing at various Targets on Sunday. So we'll talk about the 5th anniversary of the murder of George Floyd. Then, of course, I'm going to hear from Terry Vaughn. We'll talk about her new show, She the People, on Netflix. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
On the next Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, have you ever had a $1 million idea and wondered how to bring it to life? Well, it's all about turning problems into opportunities. On our next Get Wealthy, you'll learn of a woman who identified the overload bag syndrome, and now she's taking that money to the bank through global sales in major department stores.
And I was just struggling with 2 or 3 bags on the train. And I looked around on the train and I said, you know what? There are a lot of women that are carrying two or 3 bags.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army, retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
So the ordeal between Jussie Smollett and the city of Chicago is now over, completely over. This thing happened 6 years ago. Yeah, remember he said that he was jumped by a couple of folks, a couple of guys, and he was attacked. And that led to the city of Chicago saying, no, he made it up. And then there was a trial, and then there was a second trial. It was just drama. They went after the black, state's attorney in Chicago. And so it was just crazy. This is a statement that Jussie dropped today. He sent this to me. It says, over 6 years ago, after it was reported I had been jumped, city officials in Chicago set out to convince the public that I willfully set an assault against myself. This false narrative has left a stain on my character that will not soon disappear. These officials wanted my money and wanted my confession for something I did not do. Today, it should be clear they have received neither. The decision to settle the civil lawsuit was not the most difficult one to make. After repeatedly refusing to pay the city, I was presented with an opportunity to make a charitable donation in exchange for the case being dismissed. Despite what happened there politically, Chicago was my home for over 5 years, and the people became my family. Therefore, making a donation to benefit Chicago communities that are too often neglected by those in power will always be something I support. I've made a $50,000 donation to Building Brighter Futures Center for the Arts, a local nonprofit doing incredible work nurturing self-expression, creativity, and exploration of the arts for Chicago youth. This organization was of my choosing, and I'm comforted that there will be at least one winner from this experience. Though I was exonerated by the Illinois Supreme Court in a unanimous decision, and the civil case is now dismissed, I'm aware that it will not change everyone's mind about me or the attack I experienced. However, despite arduous and expensive attempts to punish me, I am innocent both in the eyes of God and of our criminal justice system. What I have to do now is move forward. I will continue creating my art, fighting passionately for causes I hold dear, and defending my integrity and family name with the truth. Lastly, I'm grateful to have had the resources to defend myself. So many do not. They are backed into corners to take deals or confess to crimes they did not actually commit. In their honor, I'm donating an additional $10,000 to the Chicago Torture Justice Center, who provides resources to communities healing from the violence of the Chicago Police Department. To anyone who has had to prove they have in fact been violated, you know how difficult this can be to navigate. I stand with and for you. To everyone who has supported me, thank you. Your prayers and belief in me mean more than words can properly express. I will never take it lightly and will never forget. Onward with love and respect, Jussie Smollett. Matt, I want to go to you. This was just, back and forth. It was national, it was international, it was just, you name it, it was just craziness. And he says he's been cleared, exonerated by the Illinois Supreme Court. And so, what the hell happened here?
Well, first, that press release was not a press release. It was a manifesto. That was I want to get my narrative out and do what I can to try to clear my name. But, it's interesting. People probably don't realize how often this happened. And to be very clear and upfront, I didn't follow all of the different parts of this case and the appellate stuff and all of that. But, this happens often. This happens often where prosecutors will, and I know this is not a criminal case, okay? This is the civil.
Well, it was a criminal case, then became a civil, so it was really both.
Right. No, this settlement is a civil case, not the criminal case.
Yes.
But it happens where, in both, really, civil and criminal cases, there is some kind of payment made in exchange for a dismissal of a case, whether it be civil or criminal. So that's old hat. Nothing is new about that. This kind of thing is, obviously a unique situation because he's a celebrity, and this was like in the national zeitgeist for a while. A lot of people know what happened in this situation and know what the accusations were, know that there were, false accusations. So I say all of that to say none of this is really remarkable to me. A donation to a nonprofit is always a good thing, of course, but here it's being leveraged to help his reputation. What I do think is interesting is it just seems like, there's some elements of this because he's high profile where it seemed like prosecutors maybe got more involved than they needed to, or the city of Chicago felt like they wanted to make an example out of him and dig their heels in and seek all the investigators overtime and all that kind of stuff. People make false reports all the time. People get prosecuted for false reports. They usually never see the light of day because he was a high profile actor. And that's what they were accusing him of. That's why we're sitting here talking about it. But the settlement of the civil lawsuit, I'm sure everybody wants it to be done. And I'm sure his camp, recognized that this was going to be a drop in the bucket for his resources and made this donation and gets to leverage the goodwill from that. I mean, really beyond that, this is something I see every day. Normally in these situations, though, as your viewers surely know, there are confidentiality clauses that go along with the settlements of cases I have every week, right? I settle a civil case, and what the defense, because I'm a plaintiff's lawyer, I'm not a defense lawyer, but the defense almost always wants there to not be any conversation about what happened or the amount or anything like that. I would suspect here, of course, I don't have a release in front of me, but I would suspect that part of the express terms here was that he got to talk about what he did to settle the suit. I paid X amount of money to this organization for the express purpose of being able to boost his reputation. And when you're a celebrity and that's a part of your, how you make your money, essentially, your reputation and your name, it makes sense that they would do that. Beyond that, I don't really think there's anything remarkable with this beyond how long it took and obviously the underlying allegations.
The thing that people have to remember, Raven, is that was a plea deal. But folks in Chicago were pissed off as then State's Attorney Kim Foxx, and they were targeting her because she was a black woman. So then they pushed to appoint a special prosecutor who then went after him a second time. That led to the criminal trial, and that's the case. They went all the way up to the Illinois Supreme Court. This case had been adjudicated. It had been taken care of. But it was like, oh, hell no. To Matt's point, we are going to make an example out of Jussie. How dare you? And screw you, Kim Foxx. We're going to come out to target you as well. And that's what happened. So this was a huge mess. I remember the superintendent, he was showing his ass and pissed off. Later, had to resign because they found him drunk behind a car. Then, of course, Rami, he got bounced. That's what happened. They found him drunk behind the steering wheel. But Parker Carter was kind of like, superintendent? Like, what the hell? Rami Manuel ran his ass out of town as well. And so, of course, and he's the same one who was mad as hell, but he sat on the Laquan McDonald videotape for a whole year showing him being killed by cops and then was forced to release it, and then those cops got convicted. So this entire ordeal with Jussie Smollett was just insane.
Absolutely. I mean, cosign. I think, and this is not atypical, right? The amount of carceral logics that get deployed onto Black people and onto Black bodies always feels disproportionate to what has actually taken place. So that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. When I think about this situation, I just want to say first and foremost, the intersections of anti-Blackness and homophobia are real, right? I wasn't there, none of us were there, but I just want to hold the reality of that and the pain of that and the lived experience of that. And in this situation, I think teshuva, or this idea of being able to right a wrong, is always a powerful reprieve, whether it's, to Matt's point, because there's a desire to alleviate some issues with, public appearance, or whether the intention is good-hearted, or it's a combination of both. I think the net effect is that he's pouring $50,000 into community. I'm based here in Chicago. These are my people. I'll take it, whatever the rationale. I think many things can be true at the same time. Harm can be caused, teshuva is always possible, and simultaneously, this doesn't negate the importance of thinking anti-Blackness and homophobia and how we can eradicate these methodologies of hatred with one another.
Mustafa?
I'm country. And it was interesting in watching how they tried to sacrifice this brother. It's nothing new. We've been trying to sacrifice Black men and others since this country first came to be. And you saw it play out in front of your eyes. Now, if he made a mistake, if he said something that wasn't true, that's one thing. But all the energy and all the money that went into trying to dehumanize him, to sacrifice him, was quite real. You watch the vultures circle above and come down and try and feed on him. So my grandmother used to talk about, if someone makes a mistake, give them the opportunity to be better. And I hope that in this particular moment, we see him making, these donations, we see him evolving, that we give him the opportunity to be better. And the reason that we should do that is because we have always been a people who would invite folks to come back home. If they're coming back home authentically, if they're coming back wanting to do what they can to be a part of community and to uplift. And I hope that that is a part of the journey that he plans on taking.
Folks, this Sunday will mark the 5th anniversary of the day that George Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin in that city. It set off massive protests all across the country, but also the world, as folks were shocked to literally watch 9 minutes go by and see the life of George Floyd snuffed out by Chauvin. Chauvin was convicted. Several other cops were convicted as well in state and federal court. That led to what I called a third Reconstruction, but that was a huge blowback. White America, white conservatives were angry with what took place. And so much has happened over the last 5 years. And as part of the focus, and remember, a lot of the DEI initiatives were born out of the murder of George Floyd. Target, based there in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they have been the target of a boycott by various entities. Nina Turner's group, Until Freedom, with Tamika Mallory, and also Pastor Jamal Bryant. We see that Target has announced massive changes, dismal earnings, and they say that could be the case for the rest of the year. Foot traffic is down, and so guess what, folks? Stay the hell out of Target. Well, in conjunction with commemorating the murder of George Floyd 5 years ago, as well as the boycott against Target, Pastor Jamal Bryant said 50 churches across the country are going to be holding vigils and pickets at various Targets. Go to my iPad, Anthony. On Sunday at 12 p.m. At the Target in Conyers, Georgia. And then there are going to be other preachers at Target in Atlanta, Conyers, Hiram, Georgia. Also, it's going to be taking place in North Carolina, in Baltimore, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Ohio, and others. And so this is taking place. The thing here, Mustafa, the energy obviously is a lot different this year than it has been in the last 4 years. There's been a massive, a clear and direct attack. White folks who were angry that young white people and Latinos and blacks and others were uniting. After this, they began to target this entire movement because they were scared. They targeted Black Lives Matter, tried to destroy the folks involved with that, gutted every effort. That was in 2021. 2022, everything was critical race theory, leading to Moms for Liberty winning races in the country, again, stoking white fear. 2023, it was attacking woke. 2024, it was attacking DEI. Everything that has happened in the wake of the death of George Floyd, you had white folks in the country saying we have to shut this down because they were, the book bans, everything, because they were scared to death of a generation of Americans learning the true history of this country. And they said, no, we got to stop this now.
Yeah, not only learning the true history of this country, but finding an opportunity to come together in solidarity and to say that we want something different, that we want this country to evolve, that we want this country to actually live up to the words that it continues to say and share around the planet, but, never fully embrace. So it was that moment. And, we have to make sure that we continue to bring, the lessons that came out of after our dear brother was murdered. And we've got to make sure that we continue to bring those forward and continue to put a spotlight on exactly what's happening in relationship to Project 2025 and, this current administration and everything they're doing to to try and demonize. So we've got that opportunity. I hope that the seed that was planted out of that tragedy finds ways to be watered and to continue to grow. But that means that we have to be truthful in our storytelling. We've got to continue to put it forward, and we've got to continue to push for accountability. And when we look at places like Target, when they are trying to take steps backwards, then, we've got to make sure that they understand that there is some pain that is associated with the decisions that they're making. And we got to highlight folks like Costco and others who are continuing to, at least on the surface, stand up and do the right thing.
And what you have going on here, I mean, you got this administration right now that is attacking anything with DEI, Raven. And what I have been saying is to all those white folks and Latinos and Asian Americans and others who are out there protesting, where you at?
No, that's real. I mean, we need intercommunal solidarity now more than ever. And I think when we're talking about Target, we're really seeing performative allyship, the consequences of performative allyship, that a lot of these organizations and companies that are giving us the hashtag Black Lives Matter, and we really care about diversity, equity, and inclusion in our organizations, and throwing up those web pages weren't about the praxis of what they said they were about, right? We didn't see the pedagogy. Where's the there? Because the second it stops being convenient to care about communities on the margins, there you are, right? I mean, we see a similar thing with Paramount, which is so deeply ironic. I think a lot of people don't know this. Paramount is the parent company for BET, the Black Entertainment Television Network. What do you mean you're preemptively foregoing your DEI initiatives and policies? You literally house the Black Entertainment Network. What's going on, right? So I feel like, when we're talking about this, we're really seeing people's true colors. And also, to Mustafa's point, I think we're seeing people who are really standing on business. We're seeing Ben and Jerry's, for example, really standing on business. I don't know if you all saw just a few days ago, Ben Cohen, one of the original co-founders of Ben and Jerry's, who also happens to be Jewish, was arrested for protesting the crisis in Gaza and for protesting these horrendous cuts to Medicaid that are being proposed. Right. So I think there's a really major both and happening right now. And we're also seeing that we're leaning into our culture as a people, our culture of resistance as a people. When I think of this exciting moment of resistance and protest that is coming up as it pertains to Target, I think of the Black Power era. I think of the civil rights movement. This idea of consolidating our economic power is not a new one, but it is a powerful one. It is a very powerful one. That being said, I think I want to encourage people not to abandon the Black-owned businesses that still happen to be housed at Target, right? So maybe instead of going into Target and supporting those businesses, that looks like going directly to people's, websites and on their pages on Instagram and their TikTok shops or what have you, and supporting them that way. We're about us. We need to stay about us, and to do so strategically.
To Raven's point, this is that video when they dragged the protesters out, including Ben Cohen, and so they roughed them up in a significant way. That was during the hearing for that crazy fool, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Matt?
Well, in like fashion as my earlier statement, please don't ever put me after Raven again, because I just got to steal half of what she said. Particularly, though, the use of the word performative, because look, the reality is in this country, we tend to ascribe to corporations far more noble goals than they actually have. So if you remember, right after this happened, as she alluded to, all over social media, all you saw was, all Black profile pictures and all of these conversations about how all these corporations were going to do all of these things. Now, I didn't know what the future would hold, but I always had a suspicion that it was about making money. It wasn't about anything else. So when you get this orange man into office who's attacking all things DEI, I mean, so asinine that they're trying to not teach new Air Force cadets about the Tuskegee Airmen. You get to the point where you're seeing that this was never about anything other than performance. That's all it was. It was about performance incidental to making a dollar. So none of this is surprising. I'm glad that there's some backlash to Target. And I think when I read a few days ago that Target's revenues are down like 2.8%, I still don't know that that's really enough. I mean, it's a good thing for us to do that. It's a good thing to hold them to it. But I think what we need to learn from this is that performative allyship does not have a long runway. It's only going to be there as long as it's necessary to make the dollar or to leverage it or as a means to an end for whatever you want at that time. And what they wanted at that time was to not miss the national zeitgeist about a man being murdered on basically national TV. Everybody could see it, exactly what happened to him for 9 minutes. And that's why you have companies that people don't normally even care about their DEI stance coming out and saying that they're going to be, you know, a supporter of DEI for whatever dog food. Like, this is not a company we really care about, and it's all performative. So none of this is surprising. It's just rolling back to where they were before. But if we don't hold them accountable and do something to say, no, there will be an economic consequence for you playing in our faces, then there will be no consequence for doing that. So hopefully this cascades into a greater consequence for any company that does that kind of performative allyship at a point like that.
Oh, trust me, there are some other companies that are on the list. Folks, in Charlotte, City Councilwoman Tawana Brown, the first formerly incarcerated person elected to the council, looked like she might be going back to prison. She's been indicted. Federal prosecutors say Brown misused COVID-19 relief funds to throw herself a lavish birthday party that cost $15,000, complete with a throne and a horse-drawn carriage. She and one of her daughters are also accused of using those funds to purchase luxury items from Louis Vuitton. At Thursday's news conference, Brown claimed she paid the money back.
Pay it back. When I found out that there may have been some scrutiny in the application, I paid it back. I have one loan, $20,000, $833. $20,000, $833. When the application was processed, I paid it back. No one had to tell me to pay it back. When I found out that there may have been some stipulations in how the application was processed, I paid it back. Now, on the other hand, that's Hillbilly Barbecue that has $1.5 million that never went into the courtroom. They were able to pay it back civilly through a civil matter. Okay? So there's some PPP loans out there that just came up that never touched the courtroom. So if it's about justice and I paid it back, why are we here? Why are we here? I paid it back. On my own. No one had to tell me to do that. I paid it back.
Folks, according to a federal indictment filed in the U.S. District Court, Brown and her daughters allegedly submitted fake IRS documents and lied on loan applications to obtain the funds. They face up to 20 years in prison for each of the two charges: conspiracy to commit wire fraud and wire fraud related to fraudulently obtaining pandemic relief loans. In Holly Springs, Mississippi, folks there aren't taking any racist mess, and now a viral video is showing exactly what went down when a drunk white man rolled up and brought the wrong injury to the wrong spot. The video now making the rounds on social media shows the white man getting beaten, stripped, butt naked, and robbed outside CJ's Lounge, a well-known black club in town. Here's how the local affiliate Fox 13 reported this story.
Video surfaces of a man police say might have been a victim of a hate crime. This happened after officers say an intoxicated man walked into a Marshall County club and used the N-word when referring to the patrons.
Investigators say that the bar is also a problem spot. They say that they respond to it several times every weekend.
Fox 13's Daniel Wilkerson is live outside CJ's Lounge on Memphis Street in Holly Springs. So, Daniel, how is this man police are calling a victim?
Daryl and Darcy, good evening to you. Good evening to you at home. They say he didn't go to the hospital until today. He believes he may have a broken jaw. Meanwhile, CJ's Lounge is now closed. Police say that they were operating without a beer or a business license.
Holly Springs police say cell phone footage they provided to Fox 13 News shows a Tippah County man who has been stripped naked. They say the people who attacked him are seen pouring on him what investigators believe to be beer. Officers say seconds before, they hit, kicked, and stumped nearly every part of his body.
The guy walked in and he was very aggressive.
Miles Stone says he was at CJ's Lounge on Memphis Street late Saturday night into Sunday morning.
Other guys in the area was listening, trying to remain calm. We asked them, they asked for him to leave quietly.
But police say the man continued to call the patrons the N-word. Holly Springs police provided another video of the man outside the bar, speaking erratically, throwing what investigators believe to be gang signs.
When they was scuffling and stuff outside, he was still trying to fight. He still was saying the N-word, N-word. Man, F-U-Ns, F-U-Ns.
Officers say the attackers used poles and sticks to beat him.
So you don't think this is a problem spot?
I do not think. I think it's a positive spot.
But Holly Springs police disagree. The police chief estimates they've been to some 30 calls over the last 3 months CJ's has been open. They say there have been fights, guns found inside, and a man shot in the foot. The chief tells me they're pushing the district attorney to declare it a nuisance.
I'm not standing for anything like that. However, we have to live with our choices, and he made a choice by going into there aggressively, and he has to live with the choice he's made.
Back out live here in Marshall County. Again, you're taking a look at that letter that was placed on the door. We should mention that police tell us right now they have a person of interest who they would like to speak with. Meanwhile, if you were here, you have information, you're asked to call the Holly Springs Police Department. Well, what does the victim remember about what happened? I'm working on that part of the story for Fox 13 News at 6.
I'm just saying, Matt.
Thanks for letting me go first, Roland. Thanks for letting me go first. Because I just went to CJ's Lounge while this was playing on Facebook, and they have some footage up of him coming in, acting a fool. It's a lot of black people there. I don't know if that part of the surveillance footage cut out. It may not be there. I don't know. But it sounds to me like it might be a lot of not guilties. You know, I'm not going to advocate for violence ever, but I will say that a lot of times, as even prosecutors will say, you know, some people got what's coming to them, you know, and this sounds like a situation where he went looking for a problem, created a problem. They're going to try to make it a hate crime because obviously a very salient racial issue. But, you know, jokes aside, I mean, you go into this club, you know, it's a primarily black club. You go in there, you're throwing around, you know, the most vitriolic racial epithet for black people, generally speaking. I mean, what do you expect is going to happen? And the CJ's Lounge is already mounting its defense, saying the police are not showing you what really happened. In that 20 seconds that I watched, he went in, started dancing. Nobody was bothering him. Didn't look like anybody was even surprised he was there. So I think it's really important to see what fully transpired, because what I anticipate is that we're going to learn that this person was either high or intoxicated, came into this place, started a problem. And, you know, I don't know if they're going to prosecute it, but I know that these kinds of situations are obviously pretty nuanced. And the way the news is reporting it is they want the clicks, right? They want people to be commenting on something that's in the national zeitgeist now because it's gone viral. But it looks like it may not be what is being reported on the media. And until we know more facts, we can't really know what happened. But I don't know, especially if he didn't go seek medical care the same day. He went a few days later. It could be because he was drunk or high or whatever. And when he came to, he wanted to try to cover his bases. But he really went in there and effed around and found out. That's what it looks like to me.
So just keep my microphone up. Matt talked about the CJ's Lounge on video. So this is what, go to my iPad. This is what they posted on Facebook. You see the guy, he in there, you know, he's sitting here. He hugged the brother at the door, and he's sitting here. I don't know if he thinks he's stepping or what he thinks he's doing. But I'm just saying, keep y'all, we're going to talk over the video, but I'm just saying, Raven, I mean, you know, Raven, you might be half Jewish, half black, but if you walked into a Jewish spot and you start throwing around the K word, they might not whoop your ass, but you ain't gonna be welcome. You walk into a black spot as a white man throwing around the N-word, hashtag team whip that ass is about to show up with the quickness.
Absolutely. I mean, just to reiterate what you're saying, Roland, what Matt said, if you don't want no issues, don't start no issues, right? I mean, similarly to Matt, I think I'm a fundamentally nonviolent person, and I do not think all violence is equal. And by that, I mean, you know, the violence of our ancestors who were enslaved, rebelling during the Nat Turner's rebellion against their enslavers is very different than the violence of the white enslavers denying their humanity in the first place. Not all violences exist on the same moral or immoral plane and spectrum. And so, you know, I'm not an anarchist. I'm a nonviolent person. I don't relish this, but I'm also thinking that people need to move the way they They need to treat others the way they want to be treated. How about that?
Mustafa, I think about that scene from the movie Double Take when my man Orlando Jones said to Eddie Griffin, "You campaigning for an ass whipping and you about to get elected."
Without a doubt. I mean, so we talked about this before. You know, white privilege makes people sometimes think that they got superpowers, right? That you could just go into spots and that you're going to be able to do things that you saw on TV.
Did Mustafa freeze on us? I think Mustafa froze on us. But his point is, pull that shit on TV, that's fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Do that in real life, your ass gonna get beat in real life. Just letting y'all know. So I'm just saying, my man, he walked up to the wrong spot. You see they sitting there talking to him. You see he's talking to some other brother right there. And you can see, you can see them hand movements. And you see, you see that. See, we can't even hear, but you see that neck movement, and the brother look at him like, dog, really? You see the one brother on the left trying to put his arm like, say, dog, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that, player. You don't want to do that. I'm just telling you. See the brother on the left going, hey, man, get his ass out of here. And then you see how many people are filing out. They like, some shit is about to go down. Let me get my ass out of here because this white boy's about to get his ass whooped. Y'all can tell what's going on. They sitting here like, say, man, you might want to calm down, bro, because this ain't going to end too well for you. I mean, look, y'all see that they throwing the trash out. They know what's about to happen. What's about to go. Nah, he ain't putting his finger up. He ain't putting his finger up. So then he goes outside. Then he goes outside, and let's see here. That's the end of the video. He walked his ass back in, and right there is when, and then he pushed the brother, and that's when hashtag Team Whip That Ass made an appearance. So, can't wait to see the full video, but I'm just saying, my advice to all white people, don't roll into black spots yelling the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to get a welcoming committee. Oh, matter of fact, you will get a committee, but it won't be a welcoming committee. Let me thank Raven. Let me thank Matt. Let me thank Mustafa being on today's show. I certainly appreciate it. Raven, good job. Your first time. Thanks a bunch. Look forward to having you back. Folks, I told you about Netflix's show, She the People, starring Terry Vaughn. I had a chance to catch up with her a week ago as I was coming back from the Afro Peak golf tournament. We talked about how this show even came about. And here's our conversation.
All right, Terry Vaughn, you're busy. I'm busy. Netflix show, but you are directing stuff and you doing all kind of stuff. And I'm making my way into Washington, D.C., and that's the setting for this new Netflix show from Tyler Perry. Tell me about it.
So, She the People. This is my passion project, Roland. This is a project that I've had for about 7 years now. When my girlfriend, London Breed, became the first Black female mayor of the city of San Francisco, which is where I grew up.
I know London.
Yes. So London grew up in the hood just like me. She grew up in a underserved, drug-infested neighborhood in San Francisco. And knowing her upbringing and watching her as she just thrived with her brilliant mind and ended up becoming the mayor of one of the richest cities in our nation was really huge. The first Black woman to do that. And she got so much pushback and so much drama. And you know, we're just watching her as her supporters, and she's smiling the whole time going through this and figuring out how to maneuver through it. So watching her do that was inspiring to me. It was so inspiring. And I was hit with the thought, like, this would be a great television series. I love Veep. Which, you know, starred Juliet, what's her name? Julia Dreyfus. Yep. Love that show. Yep. And I was like, it would be great to do it from the perspective of a Black woman that comes from the kind of neighborhoods that we come from, and her in this situation as being a lead, someone in charge in politics. And so that's where the inspiration came from. And so I teamed up with a writer. Her name is Naya Palmer. And we started working on this show idea about 5 years ago. And when the strike hit our industry in 2023, she was writing on Run the World, and I have been directing and acting, and so we hadn't really put in more time on our show. So when the strike happened and all our jobs went away, every directing job, every acting job, everything went away, I found myself picking up that material again, calling Naya and asking her, you know what you think about shooting a proof of concept of this show idea while everybody's on strike? And when the strike is over, we'll have something to show as our pitch so people will get it and see exactly what our vision is. So we set off to do that. And in the interim, I was like, okay, I know I wanted to add more levity, more weight to the project. So it would be hard to get a no, because I've been trying to sell my own television series for 20 years. And
wow.
I've gotten close sometimes, but it just had never happened. And so I was like, this time we're going full steam ahead. So I decided to shoot the proof of concept to show, so it wouldn't just be a verbal pitch, but you can visually see the vision. But I wanted to add weight to it. So I called our friend, Miss Keisha Lance Bottoms, who was the former mayor of Atlanta, because this is where I live now. And I asked her if she would be interested in joining me in producing this show. If she would be interested, because I had no idea if she had any interest in being in entertainment business. And so I met with her, I pitched her the show, I told her what it was about, and she loved it. And she said, absolutely, Terry, I love this idea. I would definitely join you as an executive producer. And so I was floored. So everything is going. And so now I got Keisha Lance Bottom as the EP. I got Naya working on our script, and teamed up with a production company here, a gentleman named Errol Sadler and his company, Thai Core Films. And we all came together and we shot a proof of concept, a 15-minute proof of concept of our show while everybody was on strike. Had some amazing actors in it, including Jo Marie Payton, Jade Nova, Christopher Duncan joined me, Zainab Johnson joined me. So I had some really great talent attached in our proof of concept. So when the strike was over, my agents, they sent the materials out into the world, and I had a list of people that I really wanted to work with, Tyler Perry, of course, being one of them. So we sent it out to everyone, and we immediately got calls for meetings. And so our first meeting was set with Tyler Perry Studios, and we're prepping ourselves, me, Naya, Keisha, we're prepping ourselves for our big pitch meetings. And we get on with Tyler's team and we get ready to pitch the show, but they start pitching us why they should be the network, be the production company to do our show.
Hold on. I bet you were like, hold on, wait, hold up.
Yes.
Wait a minute. Hold up. Y'all pitching us?
That's exactly what happened.
So were y'all in the meeting going, what is going on? Is this a prank?
Yep. That's exactly what my sentiments. Exactly. Because this had never happened to me before. And they make us an offer right there in our first meeting. And so we're like, okay, well, can you just hold on a second? Because we have some more meetings to get to. And so they do, and we go on and we have about 5 meetings and they're all the same. We get offers. We had 5 offers. And we had to decide.
That's not normal.
No, that's not normal at all. It's never happened to me. I've been pitching TV shows for 20 years. That's never happened to me. So again, God timing, it's just divine order. From Keisha to even the strike, all of it. I feel like all of it was divine timing. So in the end, we decided that Tyler Perry Studios was the perfect partner for us, with the collaboration, with his deal already set with Netflix. Like, it had all the things that I already wanted. That I am a big journaler and believer in manifestation. So I had written all these things out, and everything was there laid out for us. So we chose to go with Tyler Perry Studios, and here we are 1 year later after doing all that. The show's coming out May 22nd on Netflix. And it's
so how did you decide on tone? So for instance, Tyler has a show called The Oval. It's a drama, but it's really not a political. It's really like a soap opera. Then you've had, of course, political shows like Commander in Chief. You had The West Wing. You had what you mentioned, Veep, which is a comedy. And so when y'all were sitting here deciding it, how did you make a decision where you say, you know what, I want to go this route in terms of the tone, more comedic as opposed to a drama? What was your calculation in that?
So, you know me, I love comedy, and I have built most of my career on doing comedy. I love and can tackle drama at any minute, but comedy speaks to me for many reasons. I believe that laughter is healing. I believe that we should spread more joy in the world than darkness. And though every story matters, for me, I want to focus on bringing joy into people's lives. But I'm also an advocate of making sure our messages get heard and get out there, and we are really talking about something relevant. And if I can champion and challenge people and really bring to life all the issues and all the disparities that we are living in, especially right now in this political climate, if I can deliver those messages in a way where you're laughing and you can take it in, and it's not just like punched in your face, I feel like you can be more thought-provoking, that we can have more conversations, that people get more comfortable with talking about the things that need to be talked about, that we can laugh at ourselves, we can laugh at the silliness of all the isms that exist in this world, and especially in this country. Like, let's talk about it. Let's take down our guards. Let's be more inviting, but let's listen, learn, challenge. And I think in a comedy space, it just delivers better for me.
We obviously had a Black female vice president for 4 years.
Yes.
When you're putting together your content, what are you drawing from? Were y'all looking at what she had to go through? Were you looking at, you mentioned London Breed, obviously Keisha Lance Bottoms. So were you looking at just different subjects and figuring out how you want to tackle different things?
Absolutely. I mean, we had the baseline of where the inspiration came from, London's journey of getting into the office and all the stuff that she had to deal with. So we do start our story with me becoming the lieutenant governor, the first Black lieutenant governor, and I'm female, in the state of Mississippi. And that alone just sets me up for so many things, so many struggles, so many challenges that we have to watch the character Antoinette Dunkerson deal with. And
so how'd you pick Mississippi?
So originally, when we shot the proof of concept and we pitched the idea out, we were based in Atlanta. Once we went with Tyler Perry and Tyler started adding his creative juices, he knocked it up a notch by suggesting we take this to Mississippi. Because, I mean, even when I say that to people, that everybody goes, whoa. So the reaction is way bigger than what we had presented. So he added, and that's the thing with this whole partnership with Tyler Perry Studios, is that it's been super collaborative. It was like our tone, we presented, and he added his sauce to it. And now we have this beautiful, beautiful show that feels like Veep meets Schitt's Creek. And it is funny. And it's, it's all the things that I love. And so that's why I know we made the right decision for many, many reasons.
So when you're a writer, when you're a creator, when you're a director, That's a different thing. What it is, you're in front of the camera, and so how do you relinquish parts of that from when for the folks who are directing, or is everything collaborative? How does that work out?
So that's very funny that you bring that up because it was very difficult for me because I had to let go of the directing hat, even the producing hat while I
Right.
was playing this character because the load was on me. Like the load of the scenes, the dialogue, all of it, it was heavy on my character, obviously. And I had to go in. I had to go in with her. And, we not only worked with Tyler, he, of course, directed the first 8, but then we have a second 8 that will launch on Netflix August 14th. And for that 8, Tina Gordon was the director on those 8. And, just me being a director and a producer and wanting to control everything, I really did have to relinquish and trust the both of them that they got it, and they did, and they brought new things that I hadn't imagined or thought about. So it was super collaborative, and in the end, it was the perfect combination. And I did have to have quite a few come to Jesus moments with myself to be like, Terry, let it go. You are acting right now. Just let it go. And it was the best thing I could have done.
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to Reggie Hutland about First on the Call Sheet, and didn't she also direct the women's side? I'm trying to think. He was
no, that wasn't Tina Gordon. I can't remember who it was.
Okay, so here's what happened. It was a woman who directed it.
Yeah.
And so here's what was interesting. So when I was watching it, the women's interviews were shot totally different than the men's.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hit Reggie, and Reggie said, "Yeah, I forgot the woman who did it. The woman who did the Luther Vandross documentary. Her name is escaping me. My apologies. But the bottom line is, she had a different aesthetic than he had, and that's why I asked that question, because again, a different director has a different vision, and one has to trust that they are going to, how they want to move and flow, which may be different from yours."
Yeah. Well, I mean, the woman, just to remind you, her name was it's Shola Lynch.
Yes.
Directed that.
Yes.
But you're right. And that was where the trust had to come in. It's like we had several meetings, we did all the prep stuff, we've talked for weeks before we started, shooting anything, talking about all the things. And I just had to, when we did all that, and they know my vision, they know what I have, they share what theirs is, and we've come to an agreement. And I have to let it go once I got on that set as the actor, because I had too much of a weight to carry to still try to hold on to a little bit of directing or hold on to a little bit of EPing. I literally had to just focus on her. And she was the most important thing for me in that moment. All my energy, all my love, all my heart had to go to Antoinette Dunkerson. And she's so layered and she's so flawed. And, she's a mother of 2 teenage kids that she's co-parenting with her ex-husband. She has a really boisterous, loud, bold family that she has brought now into the spotlight with her. And they don't like the spotlight. And, just dealing with all of that. Her teenagers can't do this on social media now. So everybody's hating it. And I'm balancing my family. I'm balancing the politics and all the things that brings. And that's why I love this character so much, that she's real. It's a real woman. It's a real mother, a real wife, a real Black woman in America. So there's so many things.
When you do a traditional linear network show, that show airs just domestically in the United States. The difference with Netflix is, I mean, when you launch, you're instantly worldwide. So that also, I think, makes this a lot different than traditional TV fare.
True, true. But from my viewpoint as the artist, as the actor, I'm not thinking about that. My commitment is to telling a truthful story.
Right. What I'm saying, but as the artist, but the business side of the business
Yeah.
is that when this show launches, it won't just be folks here. You also there'll be people all across the globe who will also be watching and checking it out, and getting an understanding of this character in this show.
That is so right. And again, God's divine hand on this. This is a marriage, a message, a show, stories that need to be told beyond just in domestically. Beyond that, it needs to be told worldwide, because our images that go out into the world is how people view us. And that's important, the images that we're putting out. So that's always been very important to me too. And my wish was to be on Netflix because I wanted a bigger platform, because I thought this story was worth being told worldwide, for so many reasons, and we all know it. So to me, this is so much bigger. And I know people say that all the time, but it is way bigger than me, way. Because if it was just about me, I feel like if it would have been sold many years ago, it would not have the impact that it's having right now at this divine time that God has placed She the People out to the world. It needs
couple of more questions. First, how the heck did you get 16 episodes? A lot of shows these days are just 8 episodes. And explain why the break, why the separation, as opposed to running them continuously or watching them, having 8 drop in the next 8 drop in.
Yeah, so that is something I don't know why they separate them, but how we got the 16, that's the Tyler Perry power. That's what his deal was. So again, several reasons why he was the perfect pick for us. We walked into a Netflix deal by teaming up with him, and the deal was for 16 episodes for the first season. God, he's so good to me.
All right, then. So, She the People. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, there we go. I'm back. So, She the People drops on Netflix when?
May 22nd on Netflix. She the People, May 22nd on Netflix for the first 8. The second 8 will drop August 14th on Netflix.
All right, Terry. Well, looking forward to it. Of course, you got your hands full with a whole bunch of stuff. And so glad you could squeeze us little people in for
Roland, you know what you mean.
A moment of your time.
You know what you mean to me, sir. You know it, what you mean to all of us, to our culture. So absolutely. Thank you for calling. Thank you so much for offering me the opportunity to come on your platform to talk about our show. And I just want to make y'all proud and make y'all happy.
All right. Looking forward to the laughs.
All right. Yes. Laugh. I appreciate you, brother.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Folks, that is it for us. We want you to have a great Memorial Day weekend. Enjoy the family. If you're traveling, please be safe. Don't forget to support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. If you want to give me a Cash App, do so. Here's the QR code right here. Click the Cash App button to continue to contribute. Check your money order. Make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Mailed to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Be sure to, of course, get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version I read on Audible. Also, of course, don't forget, You can get our merchandise, new T-shirts. That's right. We tried the hashtag. We tried to tell you. FAFO 2025 project is crossed out. Or of course, don't blame me. I voted for the black woman. RolandMartin.creator-spring.com. The QR code's there as well. And of course, you can download the app Fanbase. Get the app Fanbase. And if you want to invest, go to startengine.com/fanbase. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all on Tuesday. Enjoy the weekend. Y'all take care as we always close the show out with the list of the donors, the people who contribute to our show, who make it possible to do what we do. 35,000 people have donated since we launched this show. So guys, roll those names right now. Not that, roll those names. Let's roll the names right now as we'll take it home. All right, then. So we always do that, and we do that every single Friday. We don't just put it on the website, stuff along those lines. We actually want to be able to show those names, to give tribute to the people who've given once, people who've given every single month. Lisa Jenkins from Ohio, she's contributed every single month since we launched this show, and there's several others who have done the exact same thing. So we appreciate them and their support for the show. Don't forget, Truth Talks starts on follows me at 8 p.m. Eastern beginning on Monday. So a lot of stuff happening. I'll see y'all on Tuesday. Holla!